that's a very good stone. One of the best. You know diamonds? You can tell. I can show you others not of the same quality. No, you couldn't go wrong with that stone. No, sir. There's...
You all straighten up. Now turn around. Put your hands behind your back. And don't move. I said don't move. Now you play it that way here.
I was working on a series of strikes made by the same jewelry store bandit when I heard about the new strike. We had a pretty good description of him, and all the jewelers had been alerted. My name is Frank Ballinger, Detective Lieutenant, M Squad, a special detail of the Chicago Police. I made a beeline for the Kasner store in the Loop. The robbery unit from Central had moved in a beat behind the district squad car. I was 7 minutes after them. My job was to coordinate all police units because M Squad was working out the bandits' method of operation. So far, it hadn't varied much, and we didn't have a lead.
Oh, hi, Tim. Frank, we've been waiting for you.
Our friend again?
Yeah, no doubt about it. Same pattern. He walks in, no mask, looks at diamond rings, pulls a gun, and that's it.
Any prints?
He wore gloves.
What about his car? Anybody see him?
Like before, stolen. Reported an hour ago. We'll find it in some alley.
Well, he's been lucky so far. Nobody's tripped him up. Hits the outlying districts, and then he hits on the Loop. We know what he looks like, but there's no shot of him in the mud pile. Nothing in the bag report points to him.
Yeah, I've been through them twice.
You know, it could be he's an out-of-towner, huh?
Could be. His description means nothing to the Stooley Brigade. They never heard of him.
And then again, he could be an amateur who's learned fast. Does the owner have any leads to him?
Nothing. Same story the other victims told.
Well, where's the owner now?
Back there, giving a statement to Monahan.
Let's talk to him.
Mr. Kasner. Yes? This is Lieutenant Ballinger, M Squad.
How do you do?
Now we have a policeman, now that my diamonds are gone. How long are you going to be before you catch this thief?
Well, you know, sometimes a smart crook has a lucky run, but we certainly can't have a policeman in every store.
No, I guess you're right. For me, it's the first time. I'm sorry. I guess I was a bit upset.
Well, I don't blame you. What can you tell us about him?
Well, he had a mole on his cheek, his right cheek here, and horn-rimmed glasses.
Well, his description's been in the paper 6 times. Why didn't you recognize him?
Well, I sell diamonds. He asked for diamonds. I suppose my mind went straight to him.
Well, what about his voice?
A southern accent. He didn't speak very much. I guess I did all the talking.
A southern accent. Do you think that was really his voice, or was he putting it on?
No, he wasn't faking his accent.
Would you give the sergeant here a list of the stolen articles and their value, please?
Wholesale or retail?
We'd worn out a lot of shoe leather on this one. None of our contacts in the underworld could spot him from the description we had. Then I got a call from my boss to report back to M Squad.
Well, maybe this guy was hopped up. Then 10 minutes of the Kasner stick up, he knocks off another jewelry store 10 blocks away.
Sure doesn't sound like a pro. I mean, hitting the same part of town when he's so hot.
That's the same guy, all right. Eyeglasses, mole on his cheek. Same description.
You know, the thing I don't get is, how much can he make on one of these jobs?
Oh, he's lucky, 15 or 20% in the fence.
As up to date, he's stolen about, $40,000 worth of stuff, which would net him, $6,000, $7,000 in the hot market.
Mm-hmm. Unless he owns a jewelry store.
Yeah. Then again, maybe he needs the ready cash. Ballinger. Oh, yeah. Well, where's that? They found the stolen car. Uh-huh. All right, look, get a half a dozen men, make a neighborhood search. Yeah, well, you got his description. Yeah. I'm on my way.
Where was the car?
Redway and Burns. That's the north side. It's the second time he's ditched a car up there.
Well, maybe just trying to follow us up.
Yeah. Maybe he's getting lazy, huh? A little overconfident. Drives his car there and just ditches it and walks 2 blocks to where he's holed up or so.
Could be. Good luck, Frank. Keep in touch, huh?
Late in the afternoon, we got a break. A liquor store owner recognized the bandit from our description, and he gave us the address of a rooming house. He'd seen our man going to the house across the street from his store. It was 4 blocks from where we'd found the stolen car. The landlady knew the man with the mole on his cheek.
His name is Martin Stevens, a friend of my tenant. He don't live here. He just uses it for a nap and a wash-up. My tenant's a railroad man. He isn't here most of the time.
When do you expect your tenant back?
Well, I don't know. He has the week off and drove away in his car. He didn't say where.
Well, what else can you tell us about Stevens?
Well, he's real nice, friendly. Sometimes he wears glasses. He's big, tall, and speaks like somebody from down south, I'd say.
Was Stevens here today?
Yeah, he came in around noon sometime, for about an hour. It's the first time I've seen him in almost a week.
Oh, when was the last?
Last Thursday.
That was the day the fifth store was hit. What do we got here? Bunch of shirts and underclothes, socks, and handkerchiefs, huh?
That's Mr. Stevens' stuff in the drawer. My tenant keeps his in a trunk.
Look somewhere else. There's no visible laundry marks on this stuff. Look, will you have this run through laundry identification, see if they can get a rise out of it? And get some guy downstairs to watch the place in case he shows up again. Oh, and thank you very much.
The rest of the day's routine drew blanks. After a bite to eat, I went back to M Squad to our first big break in the case. A hot lead had been developed by Norman Peters, our laundry expert.
Now, there's no doubt about it. The mark is in my files. Now, this takes me right to the laundry man. He can identify his customer.
I think we've come up with something, Frank. Laundry identification raised a code mark. Tell him, Peters.
Oh, hi, laundry boy.
Well, this handkerchief, Frank, it talks.
Yeah, well, what's the message?
Well, we put it under an ultraviolet lamp and came up with a number. 81-281.
Is that an invisible ink or something?
Yeah, from a little place down on Gilpin Street. Now, the handkerchiefs and 2 shirts are owned by Harry Evans. We've got his address. The other shirts are out-of-town jobs.
Fits Evans' description, Frank.
You know, who's Harry Evans?
Well, that's the hitch. He's head cashier for a big company on LaSalle Street. He left his office. We got a stakeout on his house.
Maybe I better go have a talk with him, huh? Oh, and thanks to Peters of the laundry squad.
You find a couple of boys staked out in the bureau car there, Frank.
Okay.
Harry Evans' address was in a residential block on the west side. It suggested a good income and respectability. He lived there with his wife, and they had no children. And when I met Evans, I knew I had my man.
Well, I'm sorry, Lieutenant, but I just don't understand your question.
We're making an investigation, Mr. Evans, and I'd like you to remember where you were this morning at 11:30.
11:30, I was at my desk. No, I might have gone to the bank, or was that closer to noon? Well, Lieutenant, I just can't be sure of that.
Are you trying to say that my husband is in some kind of trouble?
It's about a jewelry store.
Well, I haven't been in a jewelry store in over a year. I'm sure about that, because that was the time I went in and got my watch fixed.
Mr. Evans, did you ever lend any of your handkerchiefs to anyone?
No. No, I don't think so.
Where are you from?
Texas.
You're accusing my husband of something because he lost a handkerchief. He doesn't have his name on them.
Mrs. Evans, you use the Roberts laundry on Gilpin?
Yes.
Well, all laundry is marked by the laundryman. It's required by law. They use invisible ink. Now, this invisible ink shows up under ultraviolet ray. And they have a code number. Now, this code number tells us the name of the laundryman. And he, in turn, tells us who owns the article. That's how we got your name. Mr. Evans, I'm going to have to ask you to come downtown for further questioning.
Well, is that necessary?
I'm afraid so.
What's the charge?
Charge is armed robbery.
Oh, you're wrong. My husband couldn't do such a thing.
Now, don't you worry about this, honey. It's a mistake, and I'm sure it can all be cleared up.
Mrs. Evans insisted on staying with her husband when we took him downtown for identification.
I suppose it's silly, but it upsets me having Harry taken for a thief. He handles thousands of dollars every day. He's a cashier, you know, and honest as the day is long. This bandit, maybe there's some resemblance to Harry.
Well, they say that everybody in the world has a double somewhere, but you can't prove it by me.
Well, it has to be somebody who looks like my husband, but to accuse Harry, it's ridiculous. We don't need money that badly. The burglary. That's when they took the handkerchief.
Well, what's this about a burglary?
It was about 5 weeks ago. We were out to dinner when they broke in. They took several of Harry's things and nothing of mine.
But you know, some burglars only steal men's clothes. They're easier to sell. What did they take?
Oh, just some shirts and handkerchiefs. Yes, handkerchiefs. They'd broken a window on the fire escape to get in. They'd wrapped an old rag around a man's fist to break the glass. That's the way Harry figured it.
Well, did you report this to the police?
Oh, yes, he said he'd called them. Darling, it's all right. Oh, but it has to be. He didn't do this.
Sorry, Mrs. Evans, we lined your husband up with 5 men that resembled him. The eyewitnesses picked him out. I only could find 3 other jewelers, but they made positive identifications.
But they're wrong. It has to be somebody else.
Are you positive, Mr. Kasner?
Oh, this man was in my store this morning. He held a gun on me and stole all my diamond rings. Besides, the voice is the same.
And the landlady at the rooming house identified him.
The landlady. Well, why should Harry rent a room?
I don't know, but we found a shirt of his there and a few handkerchiefs. They all had his laundry mark. That's how we traced him.
I tell you, I didn't do these things.
It's the burglar.
I understand you had a burglary. What date was that?
It just slipped my mind at the office, and when I remembered it, it seemed too late to even bother about reporting it.
It's a solid case with the identification, Frank.
Yeah, but it doesn't make any sense.
What doesn't?
He handles $500,000 a year, and he's been working at that place since 1950.
Just the same, we're going to book him for armed robbery.
The arrest of Harry Evans as the jewelry store bandit put his picture on the front page. All of the people robbed had now made positive identifications. The state's attorney said he had a perfect case for a conviction. I should have been satisfied, but I wasn't. That's why I went to see Mrs. Evans.
What's the use of talking to me, Lieutenant? We just don't think alike. Why, Harry has no need to steal. He has a good salary, and we've saved money.
Investments or a savings account?
The Illinois Savings Bank. Why won't you believe us?
Well, I'd like to, but finding his shirts and handkerchiefs in that rooming house...
Oh, that wasn't Harry. It was the person who broke in here.
I'm afraid that's an awfully big coincidence.
Why?
Well, it doesn't really make sense.
Well, maybe he was going to take some advantage of his resemblance to Harry. He could pose as Harry in restaurants and stores.
Then why didn't he steal other articles like driver's license identification, something that spelled Harry Evans quickly and on the surface?
You just won't believe us. I don't see why you bothered coming here today.
Somebody breaks into your home and you fail to report it to the police?
It did happen.
Well, where's the window that was broken?
Over there, but it's been fixed.
Well, I can see that. This one?
Yes.
Was there much glass on the carpet?
Well, it had to be inside if the window was broken from the outside.
That's right.
Here's the rag they used. We found it on the floor, and Harry kept it.
Looks like part of the man's shirt.
Whoever it was wrapped it around his fist and broke the glass there near the catch. That's what Harry said.
Sounds like an amateur. What I still can't really understand is why your husband never reported the burglary.
Why, you're trying to say that Harry... Oh, that's ridiculous. Why would a man break into his own home?
It's been done before to throw suspicion elsewhere.
Look, I saw the broken glass in here when we got home that night. And Harry was with me all that evening.
I have to check all the angles. But maybe we can prove that the burglary was real.
It was real. I'm sorry. All of a sudden, I just don't know which way to turn. I feel so helpless without my husband. If he did do this thing, he just couldn't have. It just isn't possible.
I certainly understand how you feel, Mrs. Evans. It's going to be awfully hard to disprove those identifications.
Yes, I know. I can't explain them myself. It just has to be somebody else. Somebody who looks like Harry.
We have no proof of that.
I don't care. I don't care what you say. Harry isn't guilty. Will he go to prison?
Well, that's not up to me. Mrs. Evans, I wish there was some way I could help.
No, you don't. You don't care about us or anything. All you care about is the case you have to build. Now, please, won't you go?
I'm sorry to have disturbed you, Mrs. Evans. Good day.
checked at Evans Bank. His savings account showed $11,000 in deposits made over a 5-year period and less than $100 in withdrawals. His wife had told the truth about having money in the bank. And that weakened the motive for armed robbery. Then I concentrated on the piece of paint rag.
It's pretty old. It's been used as a paint rag and been cleaned several times in paint thinner. And you were right, Frank. It's a piece of a man's shirt.
Well, any laundry marks, anything like that?
Several, but none from Chicago. But we got one from Hammond.
Hammond? That's only 25 miles south.
The man's name is Lou Matthews. He's a house painter. His address is there on the analysis.
Oh, good. I'll go down and have a talk with him. You better have some answers, huh? Okay, thanks, laundry boy.
On frozen pavements, it was an hour's drive to Hammond. I had to locate Matthews, and I found him where he was working on a job.
Hey, Mickey, get in here and go to work.
In a minute, Lou. I'm cleaning some brushes.
Yeah?
I'm looking for Lou Matthews.
What about?
Just want to talk to him.
Nobody's stopping you.
Does this mean anything to you?
It's paint rag.
Yeah, but did you ever see it before?
See 100 a day. How do you expect me to recognize it? My name ain't on it. What's the beef? You a cut?
That's right.
What is this, Lou?
Who are you?
Who wants to know? Oh, Mickey Seville.
Everything but the glasses and the mole, huh?
What do you mean by that?
Anybody ever tell you how much you look like Harry Evans?
Evans? Who's that?
This picture's in all the papers today.
I didn't see it.
Can you account for your time yesterday?
Yeah,
All day.
that's right. Lou and I was working on a church.
Is that right, Lou?
Yeah, we were painting a church.
What church?
Reverend Mr. Gaskin runs it. Say, what's this all about?
The stick up in the Loop jewelry store.
Well, that leaves me out. I was here in Hammond all day.
You mind coming uptown and answering a few questions for me?
What about my job?
Well, if you're in the clear, I'll straighten it out with your boss.
I'll lose half a day's pay.
Come on, quit stalling, get your hat and coat, and let's go.
Mister, you're all wrong. I wasn't in Chicago, and I can prove it.
That's all I'm asking you to do.
I didn't bring Matthews in because I had a hunch about his behavior. I wanted to settle with Mickey Seville first and hear what the holdup victims had to say about him.
I don't care what he says. I was never in his store.
How about it, Mr. Kasner?
No, it's amazing. He's not the one. Positively. He has no mole on his cheek.
Well, could the mole have been, fake or put on with a pencil, something like that?
Frank.
This is the Reverend Mr. Gaskin, Lieutenant Ballinger.
How do you do, Reverend? Mickey gave us your name.
Yes, I can vouch for him yesterday. He was doing a paint job in my church. And on one of the other hold-up dates that Captain Gray mentioned.
Was he there all day yesterday?
All day.
Hi, Mr. Gaskin. You tell him about me. You know where I was.
Hello, Mickey. I've told them.
All right, thank you very much, Reverend. Would you mind waiting outside, please? What did R&I turn up on Mickey?
Mickey has no record in this state.
You all found him, there's your man.
I told you it had to be someone who looked like Harry.
What are you pitching at me now? Who are these people?
It has to be that man. He has the mole on his cheek.
It's easy enough to put a mark on your face.
Wait a minute, lady. I never saw this guy before. How could I tell what he's got on his face?
Don't you see? He must have seen Harry someplace, and that gave him the idea to impersonate him, to create confusion in case he got caught.
I thought of that, too. We don't have any facts to prove it.
He's not telling the truth.
Maybe your husband isn't telling the truth. Did you ever think of it that way?
Why, you... Come on, relax, huh?
Wait in my office, Evans. Go on.
It's easy to see you believe a thief.
We only believe what we can prove. All right, Mr. Kasner, you can go now. Thank you.
All right.
Well, Mickey, I'm sorry it was a bum steer. You can go, too.
Frank?
Oh, look, 2 witnesses put him in Hammond all day, his clergyman and his partner, okay?
All right.
Okay, Mickey.
Thanks, Lieutenant.
If you didn't tackle him about his partner's paint rag, you know that could tie him with a burglary.
He's not the one to tackle. I'm going down to Hammond.
was sure of something now about a man, and I had a hunch I could make him talk.
Now look, I'm not in the spot, and you can't bluff me. I told you what I know. Mickey and I came to work on Tuesday at 8 o'clock, and we went home at 4.
You told me that before. You and Mickey are real pals, huh?
No, we just team up on paint jobs.
Then you wouldn't lie for him.
No, not for him or anybody
Then
else.
why don't you tell me where he was on Tuesday between 8 and 4?
I did. Now, just how many times do you want me to tell you?
Okay, Matt, then you're my man.
What do you mean?
Remember we talked about this before? It was found in an apartment that was burglarized. It's got your laundry mark on it.
Oh, now, wait a minute. I'm no crook.
That's what I would have said, but this ties you in with the burglary.
I'm not going to take any rap for him. If that rag came from my box, Mickey took it. He always took them.
You know, you keep talking about coming to work at 8 and going home at 4, but I'm starting to get a little curious about what went on in between. Come on, Matt, stop covering for him. What time did he take off?
9:30.
When did he get back?
About 3 o'clock. He said he had a date with his girl.
I mean, the minister checked him in and out and never missed him, huh?
He went away before Mickey took off.
It's an hour up to Chicago, an hour back. That'll leave him 2.5 hours in a loop, huh? All right, Matt, let's have it all.
He saw this fella Evans in town one day. Couldn't get over how much they looked alike. He followed him, even to where he lives. Made him wonder what this Evans was like. Made him wonder if this Evans was like him. You know, his thoughts, his feelings. Could even imitate his voice and his accent. He lied when he said he didn't see the pictures in the paper today.
I didn't waste any time getting to Mickey Seville. His partner told me where he lived down in Hammond. The address wasn't one where you expect to find a successful stick-up man.
Yeah, who is it?
Police, open up.
All right, be right with you.
You better pack a bag, Mickey. You're out of circulation.
What is this?
I'll give it to you fast. You saw a man that was your double. This gave you an idea. If you ever got spotted in one of your holdups, he'd take the rap. Well, police routine spotted him all right, but it spotted you, too.
That stupid Tom.
Yeah? You even broke into his apartment to see what he was like, to see how your double lived. Then you helped yourself to some of his property, shirts and handkerchiefs.
This is a frame-up.
I can tie you into that burglary. And it all adds up that you pull those stick-ups. Because every day that you weren't working, there was a stick-up, and I got a witness to that.
Matthews is a liar.
Yeah? Well, he's got an alibi for the night of the Evans burglary. How about you? Like I said, you're out of circulation. In police work, you get an angle. It can be as big as a promise or as small as a paint rag. It doesn't always pay off. But when it does, it can peg a case and prevent a miscarriage of justice